Good morning. Oh, thank God redeemed. Oh my gosh. I am new. That is for sure. Oh, all right. Good morning, C3. Bear with me. I'm a little nervous. I've practiced the announcements and now I'm up here. All right. Most of you know me by now, but if you don't, my name is Heather. I am Pastor Jean's wife, and I take care of much of the administration here at the church. And I really want to thank the worship team this morning for singing Redeemed because it has such a place in my heart in my journey. About 7 years ago when we started coming here, I met with a pastor. I had never been baptized, not even as a baby. And Christmas Eve service was coming, and we do baptisms on the beach. And I'm like, do you really think I should get baptized? And the pastor said, it's up to you. Go home and pray about it and let me know so I know that you're coming that day. I'm like, okay. So I go home, I sleep on it, wake up the next morning, I'm like, okay, God, should I get baptized? So I turn on my car, and literally the first note is the song of Redeemed. Like, not even like an announcement, nothing, is like, boom, begins. Like, okay, that's probably a guess. I keep driving down the road, and the DJ, now mind you, this is on the message. I programmed it on number 3 before I knew it was a Christian radio station, which is even funnier. And so I'm driving down the road. The DJ says, we're debuting a new song this morning. We don't normally play secular music, but this one's really special. Rascal Flatts, the lead singer, decided to get baptized and wrote a song about it, name changed. I'm like, okay. Now, I'm already kind of emotional. Then the first words are, I came up out of the water, raised my hands to the Father. I probably should have pulled over because I was bawling. I'm like, okay, God, I know it's a yes, obviously. And so, obviously, I got baptized, actually twice, because once wasn't enough. I really needed a good cleaning. No joke. And so 2 things happened. Of course, I got baptized, and then I also stopped using my car radio like Bumblebee and Transformers as a way for God to talk to me. I'm like, okay, God, He changes the radio stations to give me the right answer. And looking back now, like, as a baby Christian, I'm like, of course God would want me to get baptized. No, Heather, you're the only one that doesn't need to get baptized. Don't worry about it. You're covered. So I learned a lot over the past years. All right, so this morning I have the privilege to share with all of you the first part of Mark 14, and Mark for millennials. All right, Mark chapter 14, 3. While he was in Bethany at the house of Simon, who had a serious skin disease, as he was reclining at the table, a woman came with an alabaster jar pure and expensive fragrant oil of nard. She broke the jar and poured it on his head. But some were expressing indignation to one another. Why has this fragrant oil been wasted? For this oil might have been sold for more than 300 denarii and give to the poor. And they began to scold her. Then Jesus said, leave her alone. Why are you bothering her? She has done a noble thing for me. You will always have the poor with you, and you can do what is good for them whenever you want. But you will not always have me. She has done what she could. She has anointed my body in advance for burial. And I assure you, wherever the gospel is proclaimed in the whole world, what this woman has done will also be told in memory of her. So to give some background about the woman with the alabaster jar, alabaster is an easy-to-carve soft rock that's used for ornate jars and artwork. And nard, also called spikenard, is from an oil of a flowering plant that is usually found in the Himalayan mountains. So it was very expensive. It was used for perfume, for curing illnesses, and because it was not found locally, it usually was imported from places like India. So what is so amazing about this is not so much about, the nard, but also Mary Bethany is the fact that she surrendered 300 denarii worth of nard to prepare Jesus' body for burial. And to truly understand how much that was worth, 1 denarii was 1 day's worth of wages. So it's like a whole year's worth of wages that she just poured over Jesus all at once. That'd be like taking a brand new paid off car and just like setting it on fire. Like, here you go, Jesus, take my vehicle. So Mary truly surrendered all to Jesus in this moment. And the value of the nard and what it could have done for the poor is why everyone was so upset with her in this situation. Now, Jean will go into more of the details about Mary, there's lots of Marys in the Bible, and the details and logistics. So, again, Wednesday night, he'll be there. Not me. You're welcome. So when I look at Mary of Bethany's story and many of the stories of those who met Jesus, I can't help but relate to the enormity of this moment in their lives. I look at Mary Bethany and would consider this her come to Jesus moment. From here, I'd like to share with you my personal come to Jesus moment. Remember, I had to get baptized twice. I've been a member of this church for about 6.5 years, and I have a confession to make to all of you this morning. I have not been my real self for all of these years. And this morning, I'm taking off my mask. I carry my scars on the inside, not on the outside, which has made it really easy for me to hide my wounds all of these years. Now, I'd like you to ask yourself a question this morning. Do you try and look your best on a Sunday morning? I know I do. Go to my closet, try and figure out the best outfit. Did I wear that last Sunday? What am I doing at church? Am I making coffee? Am I watching the kids, the babies? Are they going to spit up on me? What am I doing after church? Do our hair, do our makeup? Guys, you too. Although I think most of you, your wives pick out your outfits for you, so you don't have to worry. But still, she's worried about how you look at church. Yeah, see, Mike is agreeing. Yes. So, I have a clip about masks for your enjoyment.
Morning, George here. Morning, Gloria. Honey, it's your friend Gloria. Needs you to look at me.
Gloria? Oh, dear. I can't let her see me looking like this. I've got to put on my morning mask. I'll be right there, George. Hi, Lord.
Hey, darling, don't you look lovely? How do you do it? Listen, we were hoping you and George could drop in this afternoon.
Oh, we'd love to, Gloria. But George and I are going shopping for a new car.
A new car? Oh, isn't that wonderful? Oh, Jane dear, I'm so happy for you. Hang on now, Jane.
Poor Gloria. How embarrassing. She lost her face.
Making your mask off, honey.
You're very funny, George. Yes.
Now, what's funny watching the Jetsons as a child, this was one of the only clips I really remember growing up, and I'm like, oh, it must have been for this particular moment, which is really funny. Who knows? But it was one of those like, man, and if it were only that easy to get ready in the morning, it's just like, boop, I'm ready to go. You know, I know the husbands who want to get out on time would be really happy about that. So I don't know about all of you, but that's how I lived most of my life, putting on the perfect mask of what I want everyone to see, and only letting those people closest to me see me without that mask. So this morning is my confession, letting you know me. We are a real church for real people, and how can I expect you to let your guard down and be your true selves if I can't even do it myself? Now, honestly, I know I can be an intimidating person, and I'm sure I'm probably more afraid of you than you are of me, and half the time you probably can't even catch me because I'm always running somewhere. In the past year, I've become a pastor's wife, and not just a pastor's wife, something I would not have expected to happen in a million years, but now the lead pastor's wife. And with that, I feel I have a responsibility to lead by example. Now, unfortunately, I know that being the lead pastor's wife comes with lots of expectations. Now, I want you to take a second and close your eyes. Promise. I won't bother any of you. I want you to visualize. Everyone close your eyes, please. I want you to visualize your picture-perfect celebrity. Anyone you can think of that you imagine as your picture-perfect lead pastor's wife. All right. 1, 2, 3. You can open your eyes. All right, so when I think of a combination of what 3 women make up the perfect lead pastor's wife, the first one is June Cleaver. The epitome of the perfect 50s wife. Woman, housewife, the best dressed cook you've ever seen. I don't know about any of you women, but I have never worn pearls to make meatloaf or cook a dinner or worn a dress that fancy. Yep, nope, not me. All right, woman number 2 in this combination, Mother Teresa. I'm not even close, and I'm not even going to try. Nope. Woman number 3, Wonder Woman. And now when I look at these 3 women, the one I feel I have the most in common with is Wonder Woman. Mostly because I used to beat boys up for a living. And from what my mom tells me, I've been doing that since I was about 2 years old. And it didn't stop. So this morning, I would like to smash your expectations of a lead pastor's wife. I'm not sure how many of you remember the comedian Gallagher in the 80s. I enjoyed watching him as a kid, the couch with the trampoline. And I was tempted to do an object lesson much like Wayne does. I know you've seen him bring out a machete, a baseball bat, he's broken boards, a slinky, he's stood up on a ladder. And I was going to bring out the Smash-O-Matic and a watermelon this morning. But considering, well, there's no one in the front row except for Dane and Carrie, no one has plastic sheets and there's no big watermelon here, I figured you guys can all take the visual. And honestly, I didn't want to clean it up after church. So this church, this is real church for real people. And let me show you what a real church for real people, pastor's wife, looks like. Here we are now, obviously in modern times, and being real church for real people means it's time for me to finally get real with you. Quick summary of my childhood. I was born and raised in California. My parents were married, but also teenagers. They were only 16 and 19 when they had me. It did not work out with them, and by the time I was 2 years old, they were divorced, and I was living with my dad. We moved around a lot as a kid with my aunt and my two cousins, the two boys I used to beat up all the time, by the way. And by the time I was 4, I lived with my grandparents. And my dad met and married my stepmother, who had lived next door within a year. And from that point on, I did not have the opportunity to know or communicate with my mom until I was about 20 years old. And to briefly summarize my childhood, there were good times, like most of us, bad times. But I liken it most similar to that of Cinderella, without going into any of the gory details. Stepmother, younger brothers, cleaning, you can kind of fill in the blanks. And growing up, I felt less than and struggled to find a place to fit in. That's me at 12. Now the problem with pictures is they often hide the pain and hurt. You put on a smile and pretend everything is fine. Yes, that was my 90s hat. And all of those years of faking it, to lead people to believe that everything was just great, finally built up, that I fell into depression in my teens, even at times suicidal. And between my 9th and 10th grade year, I had gained 40 pounds. I went from being in shape and athletic, participating in sports teams, to obese in 3 months. And from that point on, I have struggled with my weight. Making matters worse, I was only one of a handful of girls in my high school who were obese, in a school in California where some of my fellow students were on the covers of my favorite teen magazine. Ouch. So I finally made it through high school in one piece, luckily. And I made sure to get really good grades because I needed to get into college because that was my ticket out. I was accepted into a few colleges in California and a few in New York. Then my stepmother was from New York, and the first time when I was 17 years old, we flew to New York in October to visit with them. And somehow I knew that New York was going to be my new home. After I graduated high school, we moved cross country, 2 dogs, 2 brothers, a U-Haul truck, and an SUV. That was fun. I recommend doing it once in your life, but not in that particular situation. So I had the choice to stay in California, as I'd gotten to a few good colleges there. But again, something told me that I needed to move to New York. So I went and decided to go to Marist College. And now I know that that was God telling me, that gut in my feeling. I didn't know then, but I'm really glad that I listened to him. So that summer we moved, and by that fall I had started college. And I moved out and I moved into the dorms at Marist at 17 years old. And at that point at 17, I was on my own officially in the world. Only a few $100s to my name, no driver's license, no car, most everything I owned that I could fit into my dorm room. Luckily, it didn't take long till I met Jean's younger sister, who introduced us. Thank you, by the way. And about a year later, we started dating, and we have been together now almost 20 years this November. Yeah, I know. All right, so I was going to say a joke, but it's not that funny. You can fill in. All right, so now one thing you should know about me, I'm sure some of you already do, is I have a drive to prove others wrong. Thank you, Jean. Tell me to do one thing, I'll probably do the opposite. So once on my own, I sought to find value in the world. Growing up feeling less than, I sought out success, titles, weight loss, making money, anything that would make me feel of worth. I looked for all in the material world. As I mentioned, I was overweight as a teen in high school, food at the time being my drug of choice. I had not lost my love for being athletic and doing anything competitive, so after I met Jean, after we were together, I really got into Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is what we used to teach in our gym. And I got into self-improvement and lost a ton of weight. Now, I was the first one in my family in decades to break many obstacles. Getting through high school without getting pregnant, getting into college, graduating college, getting married, and then having a baby. Overcoming them considering all of the odds were stacked against me. You know what the wonderful thing about God is? In his world, none of that matters at all. And when I look back now, it wasn't me who broke those chains. That was my ego telling me that it was me. And it was God who paved the path. As I was not a perfect teenager, like most, my behavior could have very easily derailed me from breaking any one of those chains. Now, I finally graduated high school. We got married. I became a middle school history teacher, 7th grade. That was fun. You can see why I don't do it anymore. And I went on to earn my master's degree while helping build our business. The success of our business that we built together and being a well-paid teacher in New York, it allowed me access to all of the material things in the world in order to fill that void inside of me, trying to find my purpose. Now I began to fill it with all of the things of the world. However, nothing worked. Shoes, booze, handbags, fast cars, degrees, money, titles. Nothing could fill that void. Later on, I learned that I have a disease of more. A disease that tells me that I don't have a disease. But the major one that led me to my come to Jesus moment was my addiction to alcohol. Now, addiction is defined as a disease by most medical associations, including the American Medical Association and the American Society of Addiction Medicine. Like diabetes, cancer, and heart disease, addiction is caused by a combination of behavioral, environmental, and biological factors. As alcoholism is an addiction, it is considered a disease of the brain. The brain has been physically altered by extended exposure to alcohol, causing it to function differently and therefore creating addictive behavior. What can I say? I have an addictive personality. Now, I should have known when I was younger, but it was excused away by youth and having fun. I drank during good times, during hard times, and then it became any time. I did stop for about 4 years, long enough to have a healthy baby. Aw, baby Sophie. She was even happy then. And unfortunately, it didn't take long until I picked it back up again. But once again, I was enabled by my environment to continue on my path of drinking because I was not as bad as others. I eventually resigned from my teaching job and began running the business full-time. Being self-employed, I am my own boss. Jean can't tell me really what to do because I told you I like to prove others wrong. Allowing my disease to take a stronger hold. Now, we did build the business despite my addiction, and it almost seemed like the more I drank, the more successful we became. The business grew to 3 locations and over 400 students. I loved training, as you can see, and I loved working, a workaholic, and it allowed me to feel control over my environment. Again, beating up boys for a living. Common theme here. We sold part of our business and relocated to Naples. Again, a nagging feeling my gut told me, just like I knew when I knew to move to New York. Thought it was just intuition. Again, me, that ego. And now I know it was God confirming my intuition. So we came to Naples. We had big plans to build an empire, an MMA empire, franchise, lots of students. And in only less than 1 month of moving down here, I got rear-ended at a stoplight. And the injuries were not on the surface. They were internal. They were in my hip and in my back, nerve damage. And it was at that moment that everything, literally everything that I thought made me me, everything that I saw in the world was gone. Training, working out, lifting heavy stuff, beating up boys. Nope. Let me ask you a question this morning. Do you say bad words? You can be honest. I know if I'm honest, I say bad words. Honestly, I'm still working on it. Jean scolds me all the time. So, I still say them. Now, what would you consider to be a bad word? There's lots of 4-letter words, right? Lots of them. Damn, suck, hate. All right, now I want you all to embrace yourselves. I'm about to say a bad word, a really bad word, a 4-letter word, and the mother of all bad words. You ready? Brace yourselves. Help. I had to ask for help. Gotcha. No, I'm not going to say that four-letter word, I promise. At least not in church. So I had to ask, exactly, I'm being real. My mask is off, forget it. So I had to ask for help. Nope, not me. My pride was too big. To me, asking for help makes you look weak, incapable, less than, unqualified. No way. And unfortunately, that would not be the last time I had to ask for help. Not just help with heavy lifting and doing things around the house. God stripped all things from me, all things of the world, and it made me get to the root of my problem. Only I didn't know it yet. So once we settled into Naples, we moved into the picture-perfect gated community, full of kids playing on the streets, neighbors having block parties. We had arrived in suburbia. We thought we had everything. Whew. And unfortunately, we felt nothing inside. Now, I thought the problem at hand was helping Gene survive his new habitat that was suburbia. We had lived in New York, our neighbors weren't close, really, we just kind of like lived alone, no one bothered us. Unfortunately, in New York, kids were ringing the doorbells, neighbors coming over to say hello. So now, in my opinion, there are two places you go when you need help. Mental help. He really needed help. You either go to therapy or church. So I got on the phone, and I found a therapist for Gene, because he really needed help adapting to our new habitat. Funny thing was, he was not the problem. I was the problem. We went to several sessions together. Then she asked to see just me. Ironic, right? All right, so at one of these sessions, she asked me, Heather, do you think you have a drinking problem? God, honest truth, I said this. Nope, I have the consumption problem. If I could learn to control my drinking like I control eating ice cream, I'll be just fine. Whew. And I think that was the last time I ever went to go see her, by the way. No surprise there. Boy, the river of denial was long, and I was on it. And now since I'm here, I'm sure you realize we finally took path B, or I wouldn't be standing here right now. After much Googling for a non-denominational church, yes, I Googled, I finally found C3. And this has been our home church for almost 7 years. Now, we came in looking for community. I really just had a belief in God, but I did not have a relationship with Jesus. And it was here at C3 that I met sober women in an embrace group who shared about their sobriety. I was shocked. I was like, you don't say that out loud. What's the matter with you? I'm like, oh my gosh. We call those life groups now. And it was those women and the work of the pastor at the time, shedding light on my darkness, that I finally stepped out into the light. Although it took many years, many meetings, lots and lots of apologies, until I finally asked him for help. I just couldn't accept the fact that I was an alcoholic. Until the last day my drinking was completely out of control. I knew I disappointed my family again, my pastor, everyone who was helping me. And that night I couldn't sleep, trying to figure out what to do. I finally got down on my knees, face firmly planted on the floor, middle of the night in my bedroom. Can't say there weren't any unclean words in there. Told you I'm still working on it. But from that moment, when I finally surrendered and asked God to help, the compulsion to drink was gone. And I've luckily had the gift of sobriety ever since. Now, if that weren't a big enough miracle, I'm going to make this moment even a bigger wow moment for all of you. Now, in meetings, we have some literature that we read, and there was a moment where the sentence said that I allowed grace to enter me and expel the compulsion to drink. And so I wrote the note. This happened to me the night of April 29th, 2014. And then it hit me like a ton of bricks. That was the 1-year anniversary of when Gene had his come to Jesus moment when he had his mini stroke. Literally to the day. Only God could have orchestrated that. Seriously. And I've been blessed with the gift of sobriety for almost 5 years now. Thank you. And being up here, you can see I'm just still relearning how to be comfortable in my skin again, learning how to live without the mask. Now that I've shared my come to Jesus moment, taken off my mask and gotten really real with you, I'd like to encourage those here. Everyone's moment is their own. Sometimes it happens quickly, sometimes slowly. Everyone's come to Jesus moment is their own. We all have issues. We all have problems, vices, worries, regrets, horror stories, horrible things you may have done to someone else, horrible things that may have been done to you. No one, absolutely no one, is perfect. If we were capable of being perfect, we wouldn't need Jesus. And thank God what God does is he takes our mess and he turns it into our message. Now, we are here for you no matter what you have done and no matter where you are on your journey. This is what the church did for me, and this is what we will do for you. We are here to carry each other's burdens. Your load is lighter when I carry it. Mine is a lot lighter for you. When we have to step over a valley, the others are there to help build the bridge. God makes sure we do not have to do it alone. We have both a vertical relationship and our horizontal relationship with the body. And what any sin, any disease, anything that you are struggling with in the dark, it wants you alone. And sometimes the scariest thing to do is ask for that 4-letter word again, help, which was absolutely the best thing that ever happened to me. Allowed the light to shine through the darkness of years and years of isolation, depression, feeling empty and purposeless inside. And being a child of God, we are here to hold a hand out to you, throw you a life preserver. You have to be the one to grab it. I didn't want it at first, not at all. I'd rather drown in the hurricane. Nope, I've got it. I really like drowning over here. Leave me alone. I threw it back many times, lots and lots of times. But eventually, I got really tired of drowning. I finally allowed others in, and most importantly, Jesus, but also my church. We are a real church for real people, and boy, did I just get real with you. I'm not ashamed anymore. I'm proud of what God has done for me, turning something shameful and embarrassing and allowing me the opportunity to help others in need and to allow others to help me. And sometimes asking for help is the hardest thing to do. It was for me, and guess what? It still is. And I know some of you know that, knowing me very well. I think I've got it. No thanks, I've got it. It's okay to let people help. You are not a burden. Do not feel guilty. Sometimes you may be helping them more than they are helping you. And now I want you to ask yourself this morning, have you had your come to Jesus moment yet? If you haven't, don't worry. It'll come in his time. But be sure not to ignore the hand when it comes out to grab you in the water. Please don't drown. He loves you, and we love you. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for bringing us here together today. Thank you for your boundless mercy. We are redeemed, and we ask you to continue to give us the strength, the wisdom, and the knowledge to continue to do your will always. Amen.